So you're thinking about owning a hardware store. Sounds easy, right? You grab a building, you fill the shelves with hammers, screws, and buckets of paint. You flip the sign to open every morning, and then you just watch the money roll in. And hey, it even feels safe, because no matter what the economy's doing, pipes still burst, hinges still squeak, stuff still breaks. People always need to fix things. That's the dream on paper. And honestly, if it were that simple, there'd be one on every single corner in America. But here's the truth. An independent hardware store is one of the trickiest businesses in all of retail. Not because the products are hard, not because the customers are difficult, it's because of how the money moves. And that part, it's almost totally invisible from the outside. You could walk into a busy hardware store on a Saturday, watch 40 people line up at the register, and still have no clue if the owner's actually making a dime. Wild, right? Let's dig in. Okay, you've got the cash. You've got the drive. You want to open your store. What does that actually take? First, before you sell a single screw, you need a building. In a mid-size American city, think Columbus or Charlotte, decent retail space runs about $18 to $32 per square foot per year. And a real hardware store? You need somewhere between 7,000 and 12,000 square feet of floor space. Do the math. Your lease alone, before you buy a single product, can cost anywhere from $126,000 to almost $400,000 a year. And most landlords want 2 to 4 months up front. So before you even unlock the doors, you might have already handed over $128,000 just to hold the spot. Then come the fixtures. Those big shelving units? $16,000 to $52,000 to set up. A good register system with inventory tracking? Another $8,000 to $25,000. Add in cameras, alarms, a key cutting machine. Boom. Another $10,000 to $20,000. And you haven't even hired anyone yet. Then there's the boring stuff. Permits, licenses, insurance. And because hardware stores handle paint, solvents, and chemicals, there's extra compliance paperwork. Budget another $15,000 to $30,000 for that first year. But here's the kicker. None of that is your biggest expense. Not even close. The biggest cost of opening a hardware store? It's the inventory. And this is where most people get totally blindsided. A properly stocked hardware store carries somewhere between 20,000 and 60,000 different products. Let that sink in. Every screw, bolt, nail, and washer in every size you can imagine. Sandpaper from super rough to super fine. Pipe fittings, light switches, wire connectors, paint in every color and finish. Drill bits you didn't even know existed. Caulk, glue, weather stripping, hose fittings. On and on and on. And every one of those has to be bought before you can sell it. Industry data says stocking a 10,000 square foot store takes $300,000 to $500,000 in inventory just to open the doors on day one. Add it all up, and opening a solid mid-size store runs around $300,000 to $550,000. And that's the lean version. An Ace Hardware franchise? Their own paperwork says it can cost anywhere from $579,000 all the way up to nearly $2 million. So let's just call it $500,000 to get going. And roughly half of that is sitting on shelves before you've sold a single thing. Now here's where it gets really interesting and kind of scary. That inventory doesn't just sit there for free. Every dollar you tie up in products actually costs you money just to keep it there. It's called carrying cost. And for hardware stores, it runs about 20 to 30 cents on every dollar of inventory every year. So if you've got $400,000 in stuff on your shelves, you're spending $80,000 to $120,000 a year just to hold it. That's insurance, taxes, the money you could have invested elsewhere, plus products that go bad. And yeah, hardware stuff goes bad. Caulk expires, batteries die, glue dries up in the tube, spray cans lose their pressure, metal parts rust. That tube of caulk sitting in the back for 2 years, that's not caulk anymore. That's a write-off. And write-offs? That's just money that vanished. Which brings me to the thing that separates the stores that survive from the ones that close in 3 years. The difference between profit and cash. Picture this. The store has a great month. Customers keep coming. The register keeps ringing. At month's end, the owner checks the books. Profit. Then he checks the bank account, and it's almost empty. How? Because the profit is trapped inside the inventory. You sell something, cash comes in, but then you reorder it to restock, and the cash goes right back out. The product's gone, the cash is gone, and all you've got is a shelf that needs refilling by tomorrow. A store can look profitable on paper and be totally broke in the bank. And hardware stores? They're some of the most vulnerable to this trap. Now let's talk about what actually makes money. Because it's not what you'd think. The stuff that pulls people in, power tools, name brand paint, lumber, those are usually the least profitable. A DeWalt drill? Everyone knows what it costs on Amazon and Home Depot. Charge 5% more, and they'll buy it somewhere else. So power tools only make about 15 to 25% margin. But a weird little machine screw? A brass fitting for a copper pipe? A replacement part for a specific lawnmower? Those make 55 to 70% margin. Sometimes more, because that customer needs it today. Their sink's dripping, their project's stuck. They're not going to price shop on Amazon. They're buying it from whoever's got it right now. And the store that has it charges accordingly. That's the secret engine of a hardware store. That fastener wall, all those tiny bins of bolts and screws, often the most profitable spot in the whole building. And here's another sneaky one, the add-on. A guy comes in for one screw, 40 cents, but on his way to the fastener aisle, he spots paintbrushes. Oh yeah, he needs one. Then sandpaper, better prep the surface. Then some wood conditioner at the register. He came in for 40 cents. He leaves having spent 22 bucks. That's not an accident. The whole store is designed for that. And when you're running on 2 to 4% profit margins, bumping the average sale by just $5 changes everything. Hey, if you're finding this useful and you love learning how businesses actually work, hit that subscribe button and give this a like. It really helps more people find videos like this. Okay, now let's talk about the thing most business plans totally ignore, seasonality. Hardware demand isn't steady all year. Spring is the big season. Lawn stuff, deck stain, garden tools. Everybody wants to fix everything after winter. Summer keeps it rolling with outdoor projects. Fall shifts to weatherproofing and repairs. And winter? For most stuff, it dies down hard. Here's the danger. A store that doesn't save its cash through the busy months hits January with a full warehouse, barely any sales, and payroll that doesn't stop. That's why a lot of stores that fail, they fail in the first quarter, right when the cash from spring is gone, and the next spring is still months away. But before we get to failure, let's talk about the most important customer. And it's not the weekend DIY guy, it's the contractor. Plumbers, electricians, property managers. These folks come in every single weekday, sometimes twice a day, buying way more than any regular shopper. A busy plumber might drop $2,000 in one visit. They don't browse. They know what they need, and they want to be out in 8 minutes. Get this. Contractor accounts make up 46 to 61% of revenue at well-run stores. 20 solid contractor accounts can beat hundreds of Saturday shoppers. And once a contractor's got an account with you, they're not switching over a few cents. That's why thriving stores open early, like 6 a.m., because contractors start before sunrise. They offer credit terms. They let pros call in orders and grab them at noon. Smart. So how does a little store survive when Home Depot and Amazon exist? 2 words, speed and expertise. When a pipe bursts at 7 p.m., you're not waiting 2 days for Amazon. When a contractor's stuck on a Friday afternoon, he's not driving 45 minutes to Home Depot. He's calling the store that's had his back for 12 years. And people happily pay 5 to 15% more for that kind of convenience and know-how. Walk into Home Depot with a broken part, and maybe someone can help. Walk into a good independent. Hand it to a guy who's worked there 11 years, and you walk out with the right part and how to install it. That's a customer for life. Now let's talk real numbers. The typical independent hardware store pulls in $1.4 to $1.8 million a year. Gross margins around 38 to 42%. Sounds great, right? But gross profit isn't what you keep. Out of that, you pay rent, payroll, utilities, insurance, software, credit card fees, shrinkage, freight, debt, and after all of that, the typical store nets just 2.5 to 4%. On a store doing $1.5 million, that's around $37,000 to $60,000 a year. That's it. That's why most hardware store owners aren't rich off the store itself. The top-tier stores, though, they hit 6 to 10% margins. They turn their inventory faster. They lean hard on contractors. They use smart software. And they build community trust no big chain can touch. Let's do quick math on 2 scenarios. Scenario 1. Things go great. You open near a growing neighborhood with lots of contractors. By year 2, you're doing $1.8 million. After all your costs and debt, you clear about $123,000. That's a 6.8% margin. That business pays for itself over time. Scenario 2. Things go sideways. Same store, but weak contractor traffic. Revenue stalls at $1.2 million. Now those same fixed costs eat you alive. You net maybe $30,000 to $45,000 before debt. Add one cold, rainy spring, and you might be losing money, burning through your reserves. See the gap? Just $600,000 in revenue separates surviving from struggling. That's how volatile this business is. The costs are relentless. The revenue is not. So what does it really take? More cash in reserve than you think, real knowledge of your local contractors, ruthless inventory discipline, and patience. These stores take 12 to 24 months to turn profitable. So next time you walk into your neighborhood hardware store, you're not looking at a simple little shop. You're looking at a business that survived $500,000 in startup costs, tens of thousands of products, brutal slow seasons, and the biggest retailers on earth, just by being faster and smarter. The screws? They're just the start. The real product is the whole system working together. If this gave you a clear picture of how it all works, hit that like button and subscribe. There's a lot more like this coming. Thanks for watching.